Hi, my name is Olga Samantha Zúñiga Ramos. I am a 17 years old student living in Mazatlan, Sinaloa and studying at Tech Milenio. In this video, I will be discussing general information about the well-known Cold War, which in my opinion is really interesting. Cold War is the name commonly given to the relationship that developed between the USA and the Soviet Union, which was mainly a rivalry after World War II ended. The Cold War lasted from the late 1940s until the awful collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. Among the various dates that were significant in this event, the most important are when in 1955 the Warsaw Pact was formed, August 17 of 1961, date in which the construction of the Berlin Wall began, 1989 when the Berlin Wall was demolished, and also in this same year the Soviet Empire started to decline, and 1991 when the Cold War itself ended. The term Cold War refers to the state of tension, especially political and military rivalry between nations. The Cold War is mainly associated with the relationship that developed between the United States and the Soviet Union following World War II. The war is said to be cold because the two nations mentioned before never fought each other in a violent military confrontation, but both of these superpowers threatened each other with nuclear annihilation. So, what is capitalism? According to my research, capitalism is basically a theory that focuses on privatization. Capitalism is the economic system in which industries as well as the trades are mostly privately owned. The most important characteristics of capitalism are the competitive markets as well as the wage labors. The creators of capitalism are Adam Smith, David Ricardo, and James Stewart. On the other hand, socialism is a system of social organization focused mainly on the holding of most property in common, with ownership to the workers. In this type of economic system, status mattered more if it was political rather than if it was of class. The people who created socialism are Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Now, to continue and create a better understanding of the topic, Luis Zúñiga, my 69 years old grandfather, who was born a year after the war began, is going to be interviewed. My grandfather knows a lot about the Cold War, mainly because he has always had a strong desire to continue learning about particular topics that regard history, and he believes, like me, that this topic is truly interesting to study.
I believe that the countries that were primarily the leaders were the United States and the USSR. This is a good question. The reason why these nations became enemies was that their ideology was completely different. The United States, through that the communists wanted to control the world, while the Sovietics considered that the capitalists wanted to destroy them. The Cold War happened all over the world, but specifically I will point the United States, the Soviet Union, and Europe in its totality, mainly in Germany, Italy, France, and England. I believe that it depends where you live, but most of the people thought that the real aim of the war was the fight over the economic resources of each country rather than truly defending an ideology. Many biologic weapons, as well as nuclear weapons, which in fact they didn't use because the war was cold.
After World War II, a strong rivalry kept growing between the United States and the Soviet Union, which lasted for almost the whole second half of the 20th century. In my opinion, this war, which only brought tension to the citizens, disaster, and threats, was the result of having to deal with very different ideologies and beliefs, capitalism versus socialism. I believe that the problem that existed between these nations could have been avoided if they had respected each other's ideals and convictions, but instead they mistrusted each other, creating an international struggle. Luckily, people didn't die during this period, mainly because the war was cold, which meant no physical harm and the avoidance of weapons. Moreover, talking about the economic systems, while the capitalists believed that privatization produced the best economic outcome for society, the socialists thought that money from the industry must benefit society as a whole, idea which I believe has better arguments that support its positive viability.